During an interview with CNN this week that actually took place prior to not one single Republican in the House or Senate voting in support of the COVID relief package, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, which it still feels weird to say that, but anyway, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told CNN that the Democratic Party has absolutely positively learned their lessons from the Obama years. And those lessons, Chuck Schumer went on to say, was don't sit around and try to make nice with these Republicans who don't want to work with you. For many years over at Ring of Fire, I talked about this fact. We talked about it during the Obama years. We talked about it during the Trump years. That Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, by the way, were always far too willing to concede everything to these Republicans, even when Democrats were the ones in power. They didn't want to fight back. They didn't want to show any kind of backbone at all. They were cowards. They were wimps. And they ended up getting steamrolled because of it. But Chuck Schumer says those days are long gone. And I would love to believe Chuck Schumer. And they're obviously pointing at this week's COVID relief package as proof that the Democrats have learned their lesson. They went forward with it and again didn't get a single Republican in this country to vote for it. Cool. What about everything else? COVID relief, honestly, that should have been literally the first thing you did. This should have happened almost 2 months ago. But it didn't, so we're now getting it almost 2 months into the Biden administration. So, and you did try to work with the Republicans. Biden had them come to the White House, talked about it. And then even without conferring with the Republicans, the Democrats then negotiated with themselves to give fewer people relief. And don't get me wrong, the bill is a fantastic start, and it certainly will help prevent people from falling too far behind and falling into financial disaster. That's great. But did you really show a ton of spine on this, Chuck? Did you really fight as hard as you could? I know you did, push forward without Republicans, but you also got to work on getting your house in order. Because if you can't get Democrats like Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema to go along with these ideas and these goals and these plans, because Manchin this week said that this COVID bill is the last thing he will vote yes on if it doesn't have Republican support. So Manchin has already said he's basically going to side with Republicans if the Democrats can't get any of them. So Chuck, it's not just about being tough against Republicans. Obstruction comes in all forms, and it comes from all different areas. And you now have to focus on the obstruction coming from within your own party. And it's your Manchin and your Sinema. Those are the two big ones. Certainly not the only ones, but they're the two biggest. So I hope you're serious about learning the lessons from the Obama years. But the lesson isn't just that sometimes you have to move forward without Republican support. The lesson is you've got to stand up and fight for something. Something, anything. You have to be willing to fight. You have to be willing to show the American public that you're not backing down. And it's great that you did it with the Republicans this time, but now you got to do it with your own party.